Hi friends, how are you? This video is being made in the wee hours or late hours, Sunday to Monday. I really thought I was going to have this out much sooner, but I keep looking at these charts and keep looking at these charts, trying to start because there's so much information here that I want to get it right. And just suddenly I was like, I would say Representative Lewis said, just go. So I hope you guys are all doing well. Tomorrow on Monday in the afternoon, we have our second new moon in Cancer. That one is of extreme importance, and you'll understand why as I review this with the reading on Representative Lewis as it relates to the events of the Saturn-Pluto conjunction, the 14th Amendment, and the Civil Rights Act. The reason why this new moon in Cancer tomorrow is so important is because this is the first lunation we have had in, it's the first lunation we've had, whether it was a new moon or a full moon, since May 22nd. Since May 22nd, where we weren't having eclipses and we weren't having things retrograde and we weren't having things crazy. So it's like we're picking up where we last left off at May 22nd. And May 22nd into the first quarter moon, which brought us into Memorial Day weekend and the death of George Floyd, the setting events all started at that May 22nd point. Because the North Node went into Gemini, that is kind of the direction of our life's purpose, our life's journey. We collectively, it was reset at that May 22nd lunation. Around May 29th, and I had posted it at the community, in the community section, I did the live reading on that. Because everything was so chaotic, I did a summary on how the heck did we end up here. And I went through the entire timeline, going back not only to 9/11, because that was the last time the North Node, the eclipses were in the sign of Gemini. But I went back further to 1989 with the fall of the Berlin Wall. I went back before that to the 70s, and before that to the Civil Rights, to the Civil Rights Act, and before that, long before that, and then John Lewis was born in 1940. I did not go over that, but that puts him in our timeline. And then I had talked about the 14th Amendment, which was in 1868, I believe. And then, back to USA chart. Those are the major points. And the reason why this new moon in Cancer tomorrow, not only does it touch onto this sensitive point where we're out of eclipse weather and planets are moving forward, we're picking up where we last left off. It's so important because the sign of Cancer, the United States of America, her sun sign is Cancer. This is our last new moon with eclipse energies that we can write as a U.S. citizen for our country. For a long time, we had the Saturn-Pluto conjunction last January, which promised to change world power and world structures. We're in that right now. The sign of Cancer has everything to do with home and especially the defenses of home and security. Collectively, we need to be writing our wishes at the same time about USA defenses and security. and how we protect the clan, how we protect one another, because we're really, really vulnerable. And in my mind, as much as I want this fraud Fotis to be out of here, unless we see his taxes and he's humiliated by that, I just don't see him leaving until the election. We know the election is rigged. And so in my mind, we got to get all hands on deck and collectively work on this together with our new moon intentions. So I am telling you, the energy is so ripe tomorrow for us to keep building upon this stuff. Oh, and I'm thinking about T-Barb and the divine feminine. For those of you who were with me last November 18th or 19th, and I did my first live, the audio is horrible. I've been wanting to change that. Since then, I haven't been able to. But the divine feminine is here. She is definitely here. So those of you who did that reading, you felt the divine feminine, that energy pulsate. We went outside at like 4 a.m. and everyone assessed the energy. You're going to be tapping into that again now, okay? And so, having said all that, and the death of John Lewis, it all fits in the entire timeline. He is carrying the weight of that 14th Amendment. The 14th Amendment is the amendment that guaranteed citizenships to the freed slaves. That they were guaranteed not equal protection, but they were guaranteed the rights of law and protection. This has everything to do with citizenship and U.S. citizens, and where we value that. Citizenship has come under fire, as you know, this year, especially for kids of Latino descent. Maybe you can't prove that you were born here in the United States and you got to get out of here. That has happened with people living on the border, or maybe who live in rural areas. They were born here, but who knows what their birth certificates weren't recorded. It happens. Citizenship is definitely under fire, and who we grant it to and who we take it from, which this administration has done. So what's going to happen then tomorrow, I really wanted to be live while all of this was unfolding. I might be able to, but we have some scheduling things tomorrow, and I think I'm only going to be, I want to be able to go live by 3 p.m. Eastern Time. It might be 3:30 Eastern Time. Calculate that for your time zone. And what we'll do right then is we'll just write down the wishes, because the energy will be most potent. And then we'll go through the new moon Taroscope, okay? Because this energy, we've got to work it. And you guys have all been doing such a fantastic job. Such a great job. Can you believe they had a flash of everything we've been through, and I can tell how many of you have really taken the reins of your energies and your focus in working with the lunations. I can feel how there's more structure with that. So, yay you. Congratulations. That is why I really wanted to get going with this stuff. So anyway, I am not going to be using cards. I'm just trying to tell a story about John Lewis and our history and how they all relate together, and our important job coming up here in the next 24 hours to pick up that story, pick up that energy, and still work with it. Oh my gosh, I just got a great big nod from him. I'm seeing him here and there when I tune into him, but I don't really get words. I get mostly like nodding and affirmations or just brief one word things. It's he's doing a lot right now. It's like they're already at work over there. It's really amazing. So that's what we got to do here to help pick it up from there. So for those of you, I know a lot of you are not familiar with astrology. Astrology is like a second language to me to decipher what's going on in the universe. I understand that. I am going to try to just tell a story in a way that you don't really have to know a lot of astrology. I might become a little bit technical, but I will try to keep it nice and easy and clear. Okay. So there's, I probably got like 10 charts here, and I got rid of some of them because I could have kept going and going. But we'll start off here. Let's just start off here with John Lewis. I think there's a lot of ways I do these things to figure things out. I cannot find a birth time for Representative Lewis, so I just use my tools and I try to rectify a chart and figure out what his birth chart was. So if I had to take my best guess, I think he was probably born at around 10:20 p.m. It was on a Wednesday, February 21st, in 1940. This man, so powerful. He had a moon in Leo close to the midheaven, the highest point of the sun that day. And that the Leo rules the sun. The sun is the center of our galaxy. The sun's warmth is what gives life to our planet, to our universe. So the sun is the center of our solar system, and it gives us warmth. It makes our heart pump and open up and feel love. And it is so proud. It is so proud. And here we have John Lewis with a moon in Leo. Big, giant, proud heart. Proud man. It is close to the midheaven, the highest point of the day, meaning that was his work, his guiding light, his moon, his physical body, his expression of self. His sun was in Pisces at 2 degrees. Pisces is the sign at the end of the zodiac. That sign, it's kind of like because they understand all of the signs ahead of it. It's like they're psychic, they're intuitive, they're empaths. They can feel everything. They understand everything that everyone is experiencing. Sometimes there's issues with boundaries with them because boundaries can just keep going on and on. But John Lewis, that's kind of like his moon, his emotions, ever expansive. The sun ruled by Jupiter, expansive good fortune, love of the law, spirit, compassionate servant, combined with his moon, what an extraordinary gift. The ascendant for him, the thing that gave him life when he was born, the sign coming over the eastern horizon was Scorpio. So Mars rules his chart. Mars rules the ascendant. Scorpio is passionate. Scorpio, it's like they have X-ray vision. They cut out the BS. Scorpio gets to the heart of the matter. Scorpio is everything to do with integrity and truth and passion. So his ascendant is in Scorpio. So we look to Mars, which is the planet that's going to be always activate his chart. And his Mars is right here in the 6th house, this area of service, being a public servant, helping other people, being in a routine, to do good, to be of service. That was his thing. He loved it. He has more planets here. His natal Venus is in Aries. Venus, a lot of people say Venus is in its fall in Aries. Venus is a planet of love, peace, beauty. It rules the sign of Taurus and the Libra, the sign of partnership and agreements. Venus in Aries. John Lewis was such a loving man. You could feel his love and passion. It's not typical that a Venus in Aries could exude that with the depth and degree that he does. But here's the thing. Mars ruling his chart. Mars, here it is in Taurus, but this is what it is, because Mars and Venus are mutual reception. That's why they're so strong. Mutual reception meaning that Aries is ruled by Mars, but his Mars is in Taurus. Taurus is ruled by Venus. His Venus is in Aries. There's a mutual reception there, so it gives even more of a quality of being able to do magical things. But if you want to think of John Lewis as being a warrior with Venus, that's like being a warrior for love, being a warrior in service to others for love, fighting for a fellow human being, and that his heart and soul, that is the guiding light. This is why he is just so driven. He's so hardwired in that regard, and he's got power planets all over the place. His North Node, his life's purpose, is in this area, this 12th house. Secrets, retreats. His Sun is the natural ruler of this, so he knows what his purpose is, because in Libra, this has to do with the scales of justice for one another, partnership, equality. That's his North Node. Such a passionate man. And so, when John Lewis passed away, remember I said Mars is the ruler of the ascendant. Mars activates his chart. Mars was 11 degrees Aries. It just passed over his natal Venus. It's important for a couple reasons. On the May 22nd video, I actually talk, I was shocked when I heard this, I talk about how I'm worried about a second wave coming with COVID. And in that video, I talk about those of you who have degenerative diseases related to Venus, including the pancreas, the thyroid, the kidneys. You're going to have a harder time. John Lewis died stage 4 pancreatic cancer. And the thing is, I've also been talking the last several weeks about when we have a Venus retrograde, Venus is not strong, she's sleeping. So what happens is that what's exposed with people where their Venus used to like fill in the gaps of like maybe what their values and what their money are, it's pulled away, so you see who they are without their values, who they really are without their money, where those motivations come in. And so we've had a lot of money news lately. And so his Venus, not up to speed and totally rejuvenated and strong. And Mars went over it and kind of it overpowered it. Remember, Mars, his natal Mars is in Taurus opposite his ascendant. His ascendant in Scorpio rules life and death. And so his Mars, then, Mars would be the alpha and the omega for him. The other thing that's really interesting, when this transit Mars went over his Venus when he passed, the Civil Rights Act, when that was signed, the moon was 12 degrees Aries. So that Mars was kissing the Civil Rights Act being signed, the emotional body of that. John Lewis was born in 1940. The Civil Rights Act was signed in 1964, and I had to do a lot of really hard work because I think that was signed at 8 p.m. So the Civil Rights Act was signed in 1964. He was about 24 years old then. That is his connection to the Civil Rights Act. It is conjunct his natal Venus, which has to do with love. In this area, it has to do with public service for others. Being a soldier like that. And he will keep being a warrior for that. The Civil Rights Act was signed on July 2nd, 1964. Take note here. The ascendant, the sign coming over the horizon at this moment was a sign of Capricorn. 3 degrees Capricorn. We had a new moon eclipse on December 26th at 4 degrees Capricorn. So this was awakened again December 26th last year. Not only was it awakened December 26th last year, there was another eclipse on January 10th, and then the Saturn-Pluto conjunction on January 12th. So when this was activated last December 26th, the entire change of structure and power with the U.S. government as it relates to the Civil Rights Act was activated. It was triggered. At the top of the chart of the Civil Rights Act being signed, we have Libra on the midheaven, what the Civil Rights Act was striving to become. Balance, justice for all at 25 degrees Libra. 25 degrees Libra. You know who Saturn and Venus squares that? Who wants to have the authority and would love to take this away and destroy it? Donald. His Saturn, Venus is at here, 25 degrees. So he's always hated this and wanted to tear it down. That was activated as well. Not only was the Civil Rights Act activated on December 26th, it's very intimately connected to the Saturn-Pluto conjunction. For those of you who've been with me, this is all I talk about, the Saturn-Pluto conjunction. We have Saturn-Pluto conjunctions every 36 years or so, but this one in January was extraordinary because it happened in the sign of Capricorn. It has the planets Jupiter, it had a stellium in it. Jupiter, Saturn, Pluto in Capricorn with eclipses, and Uranus in Taurus. That combination altogether hasn't happened since the Bronze Age, 5,000 years. I have wondered aloud, the Saturn-Pluto conjunction, what does that have to do with the change in structure and power that the African-American populations have, or just those from the origins of Africa? because Saturn rules Africa, African Americans, African country of African origin is Saturn. I feel like we're going way, 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 way back to the starts. So the Saturn-Pluto conjunction, January 12th, again, we have the Sun, Jupiter, Pluto, Saturn, and Mercury all here in Capricorn. Uranus conjunct the ascendant, the thing giving life to DC. It's so remarkable. So the Civil Rights Act also was activated at the eclipse, December 26th. And then especially for the Saturn-Pluto conjunction, because the Sun was at 21 degrees Capricorn. The midheaven, the highest point of the chart, was 17 degrees Capricorn. That's also KJU's birthday, Kim Jong-un. And by the time the Sun squared that 90 days later, he was dead, not dead. We haven't heard from him since. He hasn't launched. Missiles have not been launched in, since March? February? Why? This is such prime opportunity, but I digress. So, Saturn-Pluto conjunction. Midheaven is 17 degrees Capricorn. The Civil Rights Act. Mercury, 17 degrees Cancer. Mercury has to do with the way we speak, think, talk, communicate, do our commerce, our neighborhoods together. The gravitational pull over Washington, D.C., with the change in structure and power with the U.S. government, also has the Civil Rights Act under its feet with the way we communicate and think and reason and feel and support one another. That was activated. We have the 14th Amendment that was signed July 9th, 1868. This is really heavy. The Saturn-Pluto conjunction activated that because the Sun is at 17 degrees Cancer. So now we have the Civil Rights Act that has been activated by the Saturn-Pluto conjunction because of the 17 Cancer at the base of our feet. And we have the 14th Amendment that has to do with citizenship at the base under our feet in Washington, D.C. And we have a new moon tomorrow. We got to get this straight. Get this right. The Saturn-Pluto conjunction. Now, we have 14th Amendment activated, Civil Rights activated. The moon of the Civil Rights has to do with John Lewis's Venus, the way he loves, the way he is a warrior for love and others and being of service to them. The 14th Amendment. John Lewis is the child. That child, that precious child of the 14th Amendment. It's written in the stars. The Mercury, this 14th Amendment, is at 25 degrees Cancer. It is retrograde. The United States of America, her Mercury is at 24 degrees Cancer. She leads the 14th Amendment. So it's kind of like the 14th Amendment is drowned out by USA, Mercury. But the 14th Amendment, the chance is here now. It was activated. And our eclipses and everything in June and July not only was it activated, it was reactivated again this past month. Oh my God. Oh my gosh, I just saw this one too. So John Lewis, when John Lewis passed away on Friday, July 19th, the sun was 25 degrees Cancer. He carried the message from the 14th Amendment. We have a new moon in Cancer tomorrow at 28 degrees Cancer. Or is it 27? Regardless, it is conjunct the Venus, the love, the hope, the family, the protection, equal rights of the 14th Amendment. This has been in the shadows. It's never been addressed. This is the new moon tomorrow. Hits this Venus of this 14th Amendment. John Lewis. His role being a public servant. The runoff election, was it 1986? I believe it was 1980. Let me just check really quickly because I don't want to share this if this is wrong. 1986, John Lewis. 1986. Yes, that's what it was, 1980. Yes, cool. Okay, so John Lewis was, he won his runoff election in 1986. That was on September 2nd. The polls closed at 7 p.m. that day, so he's been serving ever since. It was a close battle between him and the other person that was running, but ultimately everyone felt like he had their voice, he had their back, he was who represented him. This is what made me cry when I saw this. So this is his chart being a public servant. He has Chiron, the wounded healer, the wound that he's bearing for all in Gemini, people of his neighborhood, Chiron. These are the roots of his service. Conjunct Lilith, the pain of the feminine being ostracized, ridiculed, left behind, beaten, battered, left for dead. 20 degrees Gemini. Remember I was talking about that May 22nd new moon we had just 2 months ago, that it was so important because we haven't had anything like, we haven't had a new moon without things retrograde and crazy, that we were picking up where we last left off. That new moon Mercury and Venus were 20 degrees Gemini. So not only are we picking up where we last left off May 22nd, we are picking up where John Lewis began his service when he was selected to run as a Democrat. That is his roots at 20 degrees Gemini. Moreover, when John Lewis passed, the moon was at 22 degrees Gemini. His work is complete. Do you get that? And the Civil Rights Act was signed when Venus was retrograde at 21 degrees Gemini. John Lewis passed away and his work was complete. The other important thing about this is Donald's sun is at 21 degrees Gemini. He has that Civil Rights Act pinned to him. Venus went retrograde when It was 21 degrees Gemini this past month. And I don't even remember which reading it was, but I said, Donald's going to get pinned with this hatred towards other people, and people are going to be sick of him. And Donald will never be able to shake his ugliness because people are going to remember. I said Venus is going to go retrograde, and as it goes forward, he cannot escape this. That was just with the Venus retrograde. Well, now he has a Civil Rights Act pinned to him. What a jerk he is. He also has the passing of John Lewis left his mark on Donald. No kidding. What else? 35 minutes. You guys want to keep going? I'm going to keep going. John Lewis, the pain of his service having to do with the wound that his people were carrying about being left behind because of the pain of the divine, we're going to call it the divine feminine, but the pain of the feminine being rejected, stranded, left for dead. Nobody cares. Back on March 3rd, we had the Lilith Chiron Synod where these two met again at 4 degrees Aries. Same theme, but here back in March, this triggered again the December 26th new moon in Capricorn, which by default pulls in the Saturn-Pluto conjunction and all of that stuff. Back to John Lewis with his passing. When we look at the solar arc, just trust me, it's another calculation on how you mathematically calculate a chart, because the chart ages as we age. So this is another way to show the aged chart and how we correspond things. His North Node, remember, 21 degrees Libra, being the compassionate servant, the service for others. 21 degrees Libra is very beneficial because of the star of Spica is there. Really bright. Gives a lot of benefit. His solar arc from his birthday, Pluto, was conjunct his North Node. Life, death, transformation, secrets, hidden enemies. This is the area of retreat, hospitalizations. It was time. Pluto, life and death. And the solar arc, his moon, was now in Scorpio, just went over the ascendant, the thing that gives him life. This work is done. Now, there's just one more thing I really want to show you, and I will be done. Aha, here it is. Back to the 14th Amendment. That is awake. It is rooted in USA. It's forcing us to look at who we are and who we value as citizenships. This is like the make it or break it thing for us. This is what we're tied to. We have a new moon tomorrow with the Venus 28 degrees of the 14th Amendment. That's where it's happening, this new moon in Cancer. That is so important. But here's the thing. I remember seeing this 14th Amendment thinking, how in the world is the part of fortune a lucky, fortunate part? Oh my gosh. At 24 degrees Taurus, in this area of life and death and transformation, because that does not seem so lucky. It seems like a killer because it's at 24 degrees Taurus. That's Donald's midheaven. That's the highest point of his chart. That's what makes him the executive, the CEO. That's his becoming president. That's where you're driven to go in your chart, to the top of your chart. Well, how many times have you heard Donald say, I've done more for black people than any other person? Well, you know what? He's actually speaking the truth, because it's going to freaking happen. It's going to happen. The part of fortune, the 14th Amendment couldn't do on its own. Donald is going to be giving it a boost to be heard and seen. Crazy. The 14th Amendment, the midheaven was at 2 degrees Cancer, the top of the chart. That is an exact square to the top and bottom chart of the U.S. natal chart. So it is really blaring to us, who are we? Are we going to have justice for all? Are we going to protect our clan, or are we not? That is what this new moon in Cancer is asking for. And 2 more things. The United States of America has Libra in the 10th house. It's what's crowning all of the country. Do I have a copy of it here? Anywhere? No. Yes. This is the USA chart. We have Saturn right here, intercepted in the skies above Washington. We are so, intercepted makes it difficult, meaning we get kind of locked into this thing. It's hard to change this, changing our rules, changing the balance of how we do things. Saturn stabilizes things. Well, when you get too much Saturn, we have Pluto here to transform and change that and get us out of that rut. But it's the 14th Amendment, solar arc. The 14th Amendment is finally ready to be free of Saturn's restrictions on it. It's going to be empowered. It's going to change that structure so that this can come forth more readily and easily. And this is the part that is really, really, I'm having a hard time with it. But I want you to be aware of this, because this thing is also changing, thankfully. But this is why the brutality is like engineered in this nation. It's in our structure. When the 14th Amendment was signed on July 9th, Vesta, considered a dwarf planet, it is to represent the infant in the chart, the young girl, the virgin, the purity, thinking of the ages like 6 to 9 year olds. The 14th Amendment, Vesta is at 11 degrees 39 minutes in the 11th house of hopes, wishes, friends. Humanitarian efforts. I think this is where all that betrayal comes in. So I will do my best to tell the story about the Vesta. Vesta represents the young child, the virgin, the purity, the young. It was thought in Roman times that they're related to fire, that in order to keep the fires burning and to please the gods, they would have to sacrifice Vesta, these young girls. So if like the fires burnt out, they no longer had fire, they would beat the girls as an offering to the gods. And all I could get in my mind was, during the time of slavery, if the fire burnt out or things didn't go right, someone ran away, we can't get the work done, someone getting beaten. That's Vesta. And so what's happening now, we're realizing the brutality that is just that the African American population receives when the fires go out, when things don't go right. People get fired up, taking it out. Well, in the solar arc chart right now, remember this 14th Amendment is active for our new moon in Cancer. The moon is there, the emotional being, who we are, we in the physical. Eris is there, the warrior. Eris is considered Aries' sister. So this is the fighting we are having now regarding the brutality over Black Lives Matter. People are fighting back. We also have the asteroid Ceres, Ceres, and that has to do with how we nourish ourselves. This is all coming to a head with this new moon in Cancer. In the United States chart, this point touches the midpoint of Venus and Lilith. Venus has to do with how we love. Lilith, it's that fine line of how we love to how we batter. The USA chart, that is the midpoint of Mars, action, determination, manifest destiny. The midpoint of Mars to USA's midheaven. The action we have to take to get where we want to go, be all that we can be, is to act in Vesta ways. That's coming up. We're going to question this. And also the Saturn-Uranus midpoint, the authority, and the revolutionary. That's being active. This is so huge. So huge. And I know there's something else I want to share and can't remember, but that's all I can do. I'm at 47 minutes. This is going to be the longest video that I'm ever going to post here on the YouTube. But having said all that, I am going to do my best to be back, ready to go, 3:30 Eastern tomorrow. If I can get started earlier, I will. Until that, you guys, there's a lot to think about. A lot to think about. It is such an important part in our history. John Lewis, rest in peace. Oh, he's like, I'm not peaceful. I'm working. It's easier. This is where you pick up the ball for him. On the planet, we stay open. They're all here. They're all here. Okay? So if you like this video, please click like. Please subscribe. Please check your notifications. There's some funny things going on with notifications, okay? See you later. Bye.